Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng, the two true masters in Deep Abyss, said Sitting Mountain Guest. They are very sharp and sensitive. To avoid being discovered by them, my speed cannot exceed 100 times light speed. So, to reach to where you are, I need around 5 days. Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. He still had 3 more domains that he had yet to venture to, but teacher seemed to be quite far from him, which would give him more than enough time to explore 1 more domain. Teacher, let's meet somewhere else, then. Luo Feng immediately chose another location out of the remaining 3 domains that was nearest to where he was as the new meeting location. Okay. I will still need close to 6 days to reach there, Sitting Mountain Guest replied. After that, the line of communication was cut. Holding his token, Luo Feng was no longer worried or anxious. He was filled with excitement, and his eyes shone brightly. The moment Sitting Mountain Guest teacher arrives, all dangers will dispel. The moment teacher knew I had fallen into Deep Abyss, he rushed here right away. In his heart, he had always been cautious towards Sitting Mountain Guest. But this time, because Sitting Mountain Guest had rushed over so quickly, Luo Feng felt a warmth within his heart. 6 days later. Amidst the rolling, icy cold mountain range, winding about the hard, icy surface of the mountains was frozen lake fire. The Crimson Star Tower had stopped within this frozen lake fire, which could not be seen by the naked eye. In the last 3 domains I have searched, I have found nothing. That means I have 2 left. Luo Feng was desperate for the last 2 pieces of scales of the extermination godly armor. He was just short of the final 2 pieces. Then the crazy demon extermination godly armor would be complete. Luo Feng. Suddenly, a piece of information was transmitted to him. Luo Feng revealed his delight. Holding on to the token for transmission, he replied, "Teacher, I am here. You can come over now," Sitting Mountain Guest said. I have arrived on the apex of the Triangular Mountain. Triangular Mountain. Luo Feng understood right away. There were many mountain peaks in the mountain range. These peaks were strange. Some resembled magic cubes. Among them, there was a peak that looked like a triangle from its side profile, as though it had been slashed by a blade to become so smooth and shiny. The Crimson Pyramid raced out of frozen lake fire and flew toward the Triangular Mountain. He flew over many mountain peaks, and soon, he saw the triangular peak. It was so smooth and shiny all over, to the point that it looked more like a sculpture than a mountain. Luo Feng flew over to the apex of that mountain peak without delay. At the summit, he could see scattered pieces of icy mountain rocks all over, yet there was no sign of Sitting Mountain Guest. "Teacher, I'm here, where are you?" Luo Feng asked again. One of the rocks on the mountain peak started to change into a shade of dark green, and began to float up and remain suspended in mid-air. Simultaneously, a cave appeared on the rock that was so tiny that only an ant might have been able to crawl through. "Come in." "Yes, teacher." As big as a speck of dust, Star Tower flew into the cave. Inside the rock was a world of immeasurable beauty. It was as though the whole internal world was composed of glass. Numerous miniature worlds within it were scattered and dispersed, and upon entering, Luo Feng was immediately led into the core world. It was a vast core world where all living things grew and lived. There were countless animals and plants, as well as humans and other races. "Teacher." Luo Feng could see Sitting Mountain Guest standing on one of the faraway mountain peaks at first glance. Sitting Mountain Guest turned around, and his eyes were quick to focus on the black armor Luo Feng wore. He frowned upon taking a thorough look, then asked, "Is that extermination godly armor?" Luo Feng smiled and nodded. "Yes." Luo Feng wore the armor in the hope of getting teacher to realize and ask about it without him having to say anything. Otherwise, it would naturally be difficult for him to distinguish any slight change in expression or form. "It was quite rewarding for you to be able to obtain this extermination godly armor," Sitting Mountain Guest said. "I have heard of its great name before but never had the chance to see it." Let me have a closer look. Yes. Luo Feng knew that teacher was a top-tier existence extremely skilled in making true treasures. With a move of his mind, the half-completed extermination godly armor flew over to where teacher was. From where he stood, sitting mountain guest stretched out both arms to receive the extermination godly armor. He looked it over meticulously, and even studied the small portion of secret engravings found on the surface. The more he looked, the more furrowed his brows got. His frown deepened. It's called. Sitting mountain guest turned towards Luo Feng and asked, Crazy demon extermination godly armor. Teacher, how did you know? Luo Feng was shocked. This extermination godly armor had always followed 5 Chaos Master wherever he went and had never been passed around before. Its original name, Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor, would not have been known by other great beings. Sitting mountain guest laughed lightly and replied, Naturally. I have met with some unique opportunities, too, so I learned about the existence of Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor long before now. It's just that, this is my first time looking at it so closely. That is why I only now realize that 5 Chaos Masters Extermination Godly Armor is in fact, Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. This is an absolute true treasure, but there is one thing you have to bear in mind. Luo Feng listened intently. By using this Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor, once you enter the Crazy Demon state, the crazier the demon you get, the higher power of this battle armor will increase, albeit gradually. However, the moment you lose your autonomous consciousness and enter an absolute Crazy Demon state, you will not be able to maintain consciousness at will. There must be another great being around to wake you up within the shortest time possible. If no great being is around to break the Crazy Demon state and wake you up, you will lose your autonomous consciousness forever. Luo Feng's expression changed drastically. He replied, Your disciple will remember this well. Luckily for him, teacher was around to give him guidance. Sitting mountain guest gave a light hum, and looked up as though his gaze could bore holes in the endless space high above. Universe ocean is unfathomable. Some of the knowledge I have acquired was through pure coincidence. You need not worry. When using Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor, just control your internal peace well. Do not let the crazy demon control you, and nothing will go wrong. Once you have attained a willpower that is comparable to a universe supreme master, then no matter how crazy it is, the Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor will never be able to cause you to lose your autonomous consciousness. Sitting mountain guest looked at Luo Feng. Also, I see that this battle armor seems to be incomplete. Yes, it is. Luo Feng nodded. I still have some other pieces of scales with me. It is just that I am lacking the final 2 pieces. Therefore, quite a few other scales are unable to fuse. I am left with 2 domains to look into. I believe that the 2 pieces I am lacking should be in those 2 domains. Where? Let me accompany you. Sitting mountain guest smiled. Being able to obtain that Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor will be a great help to you too. Without further ado, Luo Feng, together with Sitting Mountain guest teacher, headed toward the last 2 domains. On the 3rd day. I can feel it. I can feel the summoning. In that direction. Luo Feng pointed far off into the distance. The mountain rock that was traveling with them immediately took a turn and headed in that direction at high speed. This mountain rock was a true treasure personally made by Sitting Mountain guest. After he had paid an exorbitant price, and put in extremely strenuous efforts. It was usually in the form of a mountain. Sitting Mountain guest would normally sit on the peak of this mountain. Within Universe Ocean, this Sitting Mountain peak was acclaimed as a supreme true treasure, but previously, during a conversation with his teacher, Luo Feng got to know that while Sitting Mountain peak had many functions, it still had not progressed to the level of a supreme true treasure. Just as Sitting Mountain guest had said, I myself am a special life form. I am one of a kind. This true treasure that I have refined is best suited to my life, and I made it myself and have even fused strange objects within it. It is indestructible. It is not a supreme true treasure, but in my hands, it is not much different from a supreme true treasure. If the treasure suits you, that would be the best, Sitting Mountain Guest continued. Of course, in the vast universe ocean, when it comes to refining and making true treasures, there is no one who can beat me. Other great beings even have to go looking for true treasures. Luo Feng was speechless. Who could be so capable? Making Star Tower for his disciple, then making Sitting Mountain Peak for himself. Sitting Mountain Guest had always been someone difficult to guard against, as he was well equipped with so many different methods and means. Until that day, within the vast universe ocean, there was no one who really knew Sitting Mountain Guest's true power. It was also because Sitting Mountain Guest never really fought head-on with anyone. He always relied on various other means, forcing the other universe supreme masters to a sorry state, which was why the various groups of powers were unwilling to offend this lone, wandering supreme master, Sitting Mountain Guest. Over there, Luo Feng guided. Over in that direction. The flying mountain rock broke through numerous obstacles only to end up colliding against the endless, icy land. There is no way in, Sitting Mountain Guest said. But I can feel it just below us, Luo Feng replied. Sitting Mountain Guest was also frowning. Beneath them was an endless, icy layer of vast land. The ground was immeasurably thick. There was not a single crack to be found. I have been to deep abyss before, said Sitting Mountain Guest. This endless frozen earth is indestructible and is completely frozen. By right, it is impossible for those two pieces of scales to make it down there. But I can sense that they are just below us. Luo Feng was confused, too. I have yet to hear of anyone who can break through that immeasurable layer of frozen earth. Sitting Mountain Guest was at his wits' end. Let me think. Teacher, let me out to take a look, Luo Feng said. All right. Sitting Mountain Guest nodded. At the moment, he could not come up with any solution. Maybe Luo Feng could get lucky. Without further delay, Luo Feng boarded Crimson Pyramid, and Sitting Mountain Guest sat on Sitting Mountain Peak. They set off together to start their exploration of the endless, icy layer of Earth. In the uppermost level of Blazing Flames Lake, within the spreading frozen lake fire, a huge axe tore through space at an alarming speed and charged into frozen lake fire. At an extremely high rate of speed, it soared up into the sky and flew toward the highest point. When the black hole of that endless deep abyss appeared, Huge Axe immediately started to reduce his speed. We've reached it. I rushed over here from Tilted Peak Sector. Thus, I have spent a little more time. If the universe supreme masters of the Divine Eye clan had also advanced at full speed, they would have reached it, too. After it slowed down, it started to suck in energy. Then it flew straight into the dark deep abyss. In the deep region of the 9th level of deep abyss, there was an endless layer of frozen earth. Crimson Pyramid and the deep green mountain rock both were flying above the endless, icy earth, exploring and searching for a way in. They had been doing so for the past 2 days, but were completely clueless about how they could find their way in. Luo Feng was frustrated. Theoretically speaking, if the two pieces of scales are below, then by right, I should be able to get in. Ha ha ha. Luo Feng, I found it. I found the way to get in. Sitting Mountain Guest's voice transmitted over to Luo Feng. Come over here to where I am. Found it. Right, I'm coming. Luo Feng felt his excitement building instantaneously. Crimson Pyramid flew into the dark green mountain rock right away. Sitting Mountain Guest smiled and said with confidence, the 12th level of Deep Abyss is well known for being barren without treasures. Not many great beings are willing to come in here. I did not expect this endless, frozen earth to be so mysterious. This endless layer of frozen earth is unique. As far as the universe ocean, the 3 reincarnation eras, and the 2 Holy Land universes are concerned, the number of great beings who can discover the secrets of this layer of frozen earth may not even exceed 3. As your teacher, if I were to say I am only second best in making and refining true treasures, no one would dare say he was the best, especially when even someone like myself had to take such a long time to discover the secret of this place. If it is you, cultivating to become a universe master here, I think you might not even be able to enter the layer of endless iced earth. Luo Feng could not help interrupting his teacher's boasting session. Teacher, I think we should go in. I am also very curious, said Sitting Mountain Guest. You can see the technique I will use. The entire deep green mountain peak expanded tremendously all of a sudden, and immediately fell onto the layer of frozen earth. The next moment, the whole green mountain peak radiated countless light rays. These light rays were distorted to give rise to countless secret engravings, which started to worm their way into this layer of frozen earth. At this point, the vast layer of endless, frozen earth presented a gigantic diagram of secret engravings that spread over an area of 10 billion kilometers. The engraving reflected on the permafrost suddenly surged. The Cyan Mountain disappeared. This is a special transportation skill. Sitting Mountain Guest smiled in the mountain. It's kind of like your star tower. There are lots of spaces in your star tower, and there will be portals from space to space. This one is similar, but it just changes the portal into a spot. Luo Feng was listening, but he still looked confused. He understood what it meant in a broad sense, but he couldn't figure out the mysteries behind it. Sitting Mountain Guest grinned and laughed. Ha ha. I've said that only less than 3 can identify it out of all the great beings from the 3 universe eras and holy lands combined. Also, I can identify it faster than them. Even lots of universe supreme masters can't understand it. How could you know it? The only thing you need to know is that universe boat has power itself. From my perspective, universe boat itself is a magical true treasure. Much more magical than all the supreme true treasures we know. I think so too. Luo Feng nodded. What do you mean, you think so too? Said Sitting Mountain Guest. This universe boat has the shape of a boat, and it was clearly crafted. Most great beings think that it's a terrific true treasure. Okay. Transportation is over. It was glowing outside. Time and space moved, and Sitting Mountain Guest showed up in a quiet space. Look outside. Sitting Mountain Guest pointed to the outside, and the cyan stone immediately disappeared. A very beautiful and simple space, said Luo Feng. He found that the space wasn't large, and there was an island at the center of the lake. There weren't any plants on the island, and there were only ancient, stone-built palaces. Teacher, I can sense that the 2 scales are in the lake, he said. I already know where the 2 scales come from. Sitting Mountain Guest pointed down. This giant lake, and the water in the lake. This is the gigantic ice mountain domain. Perhaps the 2 scales fell into this domain and flew here through a mysterious portal. I'll go down there, teacher. Luo Feng was in a hurry, so he didn't have time to chit-chat with his teacher. Ha ha, just go. Sitting Mountain Guest smiled and nodded. Luo Feng flew out of the mountain in the bloody pyramid. He went into the ice-cold water domain. He kept diving. Luo Feng had gathered hundreds of thousands of scales in the ice-cold water domain before, so he knew that the water wasn't a threat at all. To be exact, the entire abyss couldn't pose any threat to Star Tower, and the worst it could do to Luo Feng was to trap him forever. It's there. Luo Feng sensed something stronger. The bloody pyramid kept sinking, and the blurry golden light immediately became a giant golden hand and grabbed the 2 scales. Ha ha, I got them. He went back to the center of the mountain. Sitting Mountain Guest stood to the side with a smile. Luo Feng was very excited, and the 2 scales immediately recognized him as their masters. The extermination, godly armor was disintegrated, and all the 8,999,999 scales floated around Luo Feng. Most of the scales were black, and a fraction of them were golden. They immediately combined, which made Luo Feng exclaim. It was able to create all the techniques, and they were scattered on all the scales. Defense, distant combat, and close combat, all the engravings were so delicately combined. It was incredible that someone was able to make such a true treasure. Not bad. Sitting Mountain Guest nodded. Luo Feng was wearing the black-scaled armor, and the 4 silver wings opened. Suddenly, the color changed, and it became a silver armor. The right hand turned silver. Even 5 Chaos Master won't be able to recognize you. Sitting mountain guest smiled and nodded. Luo Feng was excited as well. However, said sitting mountain guest, 5 Chaos uses this crazy demon extermination godly armor as a palace-type true treasure, and the armor is slightly damaged. This is supposed to come from Lava Ocean. Luo Feng nodded, as he could sense that the armor was indeed a bit damaged. Give it to me, and I'll help you repair it, said sitting mountain guest. Okay. Luo Feng felt more grateful. It's only slightly damaged, so it won't cost much to fix it, said sitting mountain guest confidently. However, few in Universe Ocean are able to fix valuables like this. I am the only one. Luo Feng was speechless, as his teacher was indeed very confident in making true treasures. However, he needed his teacher's help, so he needed to be agreeable. He gave the armor to his teacher, yet his teacher didn't rush to repair it. Instead, he said, let's go to that island. This mysterious space is independent of other places, so it should be a space that belonged to some great being before. Okay. Luo Feng nodded. Long ago, to be exact, before the 2 holy lands came into being and Universe Boat was not yet one of the 3 lands of Extremis, Universe Boat had a user. The black keepsake, green keepsake, and the silver keepsake corresponded to independent spaces. If tilted peak sector and flowing countless mountain looked natural, Universe Boat appeared to have been crafted. The mountain immediately flew to the island and stopped above the island before it gradually landed. Sitting mountain guests started to walk out. Let's go. Teacher. Luo Feng couldn't help asking, as he needed to be careful everywhere in the abyss. Sitting mountain guest was already outside. The island is safe, he said. Okay. Luo Feng could only follow, yet his golden horned beast body was in the bloody pyramid. He and his teacher walked out of the mountain and arrived on the island. The island only has a diameter of 1,000,000 kilometers, thought Luo Feng. It's not large. To them, they could walk from one side of the island to the other side in one step. Sitting mountain guest looked at the palaces. Luo Feng turned around and looked at them. Both could tell that they were all the mountain stones that belonged to the island. They formed stoned palaces, and there were pictures on the walls of the palaces. There were pictures of giant boats flying in the sky, pictures of great beings fighting each other, great beings without heads floating in the sky, and lots of beings groveling. They seemed to be telling an ancient history. The energy seemed to be from an ancient civilization. The sculptures themselves contained lots of emotions, which even affected Luo Feng's mind. What a terrific civilization, said sitting mountain guest. What a terrific great being, whispered Luo Feng. You can tell. Sitting mountain guest looked to Luo Feng. I can't tell much. However, that boat on the picture is clearly Universe Boat. What kind of civilization was able to build a valuable like Universe Boat? Luo Feng exclaimed, the builder must be incredibly powerful. He turned to sitting mountain guest. Teacher. Were great civilizations really born here in the past? Perhaps, said sitting mountain guest. Even if they were, nobody knows which universe era this one belonged to. The 2 holy lands have existed for a very long time, and Universe Boat was already broken when they came into being. We can only find some traits from some ruins. The skills I used to make true treasures, I got because of some special situations. I attained them with my comprehension. Like those 7 true masters of Divine Eye clan, they went to some ancient places and studied them. Like the 2 holy lands. They had special fighting and training skills. One of the reasons is that they are led by the ancestors of the holy lands, and second, they've been to lots of ancient places. Holy lands, Luo Feng couldn't help saying. Teacher, no one has met the ancestors from the 2 holy lands. This is a secret among the universe supreme masters. Sitting mountain guest looked at Luo Feng. Don't think too much. Keep practicing. When you become a universe supreme master, you'll know many more mysteries, and you'll just be wasting your time overthinking if you haven't reached that. Okay. Luo Feng nodded. Go, let's go in. Sitting mountain guest walked in. He walked along and entered the palace. Luo Feng and Sitting Mountain Guest were walking side by side, and they were looking at all the ancient sculptures. There were all sorts of pictures. Pictures of beings cheering, pictures of battle and leaders roaring. All the pictures showed that it was an ancient civilization, a mysterious and powerful civilization. Emotions, Luo Feng could feel the emotions in the sculptures. He even doubted that they were famous buildings that mimicked some ancient civilizations. After some time, Luo Feng and Sitting Mountain Guest entered the center place. Luo Feng noticed that Sitting Mountain Guest stopped. Teacher. Luo Feng looked to all the complex characters on the giant wall in the distance. The characters were ancient and mysterious. Even though Luo Feng wasn't able to recognize the characters on the wall, he was able to understand what they meant. A mistake. It's a huge mistake. It cost so much. Yet all I got is death. Deaths upon deaths. Ha ha. I have made a breakthrough, so what? It's death in the end. The characters on the wall contained anger and regret, which dazed both Luo Feng and Sitting Mountain Guest. Unknown words on the stone walls gave rise to strong emotions that caused Luo Feng to feel as though he was under the impact of a crazy storm. Near his ears, there was a vague, low growl that sounded as though an ancient, great being was roaring. Dying one after the other, dying one by one, no one can escape. No one can. I am filled with reluctance, so reluctant. Soon after, Luo Feng regained consciousness. These words contained an emotion so strong, and also, they contained his willpower. Luo Feng was speechless learning about this. An intimidating existence that was annihilated during a reincarnation era that no one knew when, leaving behind mere words. To be able to achieve this, how powerful he must be. Besides, these words and the words transmitted by the true treasure are the same. True treasures, one by one being born, yet no one knew who created them. The primal universe. Universe ocean, or another. Now, from the looks of it, many true treasures that have been handed down may be related to a tyrannical civilization that had been annihilated. Luo Feng speculated to himself, then turned to look at his teacher beside him. Sitting Mountain Guest looked on without a word. Given his power, he would not be influenced by the strong emotions exuded by those words, but the expression on his face was vaguely sad. It took a while before he slowly shook his head. Then, looking at Luo Feng, he said, Luo Feng, the mysterious great being who left these words behind is stronger than me. Stronger than any other universe supreme master. I suppose even teacher origin of the human race may not be able to defeat this great being. Only the original ancestor of the two Holy Land universes might somehow be comparable. How strong he was, yet his end was so tragic. Sitting Mountain Guest shook his head and continued, as of today, our universe ocean is active across the 3 reincarnation eras and 2 Holy Land universes. But thousands and millions of reincarnation eras later, who or which race and clan could survive? This is something we do not know. Luo Feng was momentarily taken aback. That was quite true. They would not be able to live that long, so long as they could live through 3 more reincarnation eras. Nowadays, for a large number of great beings, only those from the 2 holy places could survive through countless years. Besides, it would be too difficult to create another Holy Land universe for them to live. Teacher. Luo Feng's gaze was sharp as a blade, and in a light but firm tone, he said, we may only have a glimmer of hope, but at least the 2 Holy Lands are still there. We can still see hope. No matter what, we have to give it our best shot. I have only lived for merely hundreds of thousands of years. That is far too short compared to 1 reincarnation era, being able to reach where I am today. What about millions and billions of years? Or even much longer than that, I am certain I can reach higher grounds. If there is no path ahead, I will make my own path. Besides, this is not unprecedented. There were great beings who succeeded before. Sitting Mountain Guest looked at Luo Feng, then smiled as he nodded. Ha ha. I may have been slightly influenced by those words. Being young is definitely different. You are so full of vigor. With such vigor, you will be different from old fellows who have lived through endless, long periods yet have not been able to achieve any breakthroughs. Long periods have eroded their order. You should put your heart into this. Who knows? In the future, I might need to get help from you. Get help from? Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. Let's go, Sitting Mountain guest beckoned. We should take a look to see what else this great being who lived here ages ago left behind. All right. Luo Feng followed suit. Luo Feng and Sitting Mountain guest were both extraordinary beings. They toured around as streaks of light, and all they required was one sweeping glance of everything around them. Everything they scanned would be remembered well and taken to heart. And, naturally, their speeds would be extremely fast. The entire island is incomparably quiet, thought Luo Feng. It is very different from the other places in Deep Abyss. There isn't a single plant, or a single valuable on this island. Just endless palaces. Suddenly, ahead of him, Sitting Mountain guest took a wide stride and Su. He arrived far away, at the third palace within its palace hall. Luo Feng, come here. Sitting Mountain guest's voice seemed a little agitated. Luo Feng accelerated, and within an instant, he had arrived within the palace. In that massive palace, within its huge courtyard, there were several exquisitely adorned sculptures. In the same courtyard, there was also a gigantic stone wall meant for decorative purposes. It was around 1,000 meters tall and 2,000 meters wide. The entirety of it exuded an immeasurably strong aura. This is, Luo Feng said. He knew clearly at first glance that this stone wall contained countless diagrams of secret engravings. They were so small that they would have been measured on a nanometer scale, and seemed to be embedded in the stone wall. It seemed to be their nest where they all finally converged to form a strange, huge, three-dimensional diagram of secret engravings. An aura charged at Luo Feng's consciousness. The stone wall that was originally before them had undergone a complete change. Now, it seemed to contain another world that was filled with countless souls like life forms from the rock race, metal race, or even the flesh and the blood type. Billions of life forms were kneeling in a certain direction, worshipping as they chanted the same utterance in unison, Devil Split. Devil Split. Devil Split. The intermittent sounds were like a tsunami. Luo Feng, wake up. The impact of a strong godly power caused Luo Feng to wake up in shock. Teacher. Luo Feng turned to look at teacher, feeling overwhelmed with shock. It was so terrifying. What technique was this? He had studied diagrams of secret engravings, and had meticulously studied the diagram of secret engravings of miniature universe, but when comparing the diagram of secret engravings of a miniature universe to the stone wall before him, which contained a diagram of a vast and mysterious secret engraving, it was like comparing a single blazing flame to an entire star. Luo Feng would have bet that the scene he had witnessed earlier had been caused by the diagram of secret engravings on that stone wall. Whatever being created that engraving, if the technique was really executed to unleash its true potential, it would be so powerful that billions of souls would submit to it. Or at least universe masters would not be able to resist it and would be enslaved to it in an instant. You are quite a gutsy one, said Sitting Mountain guest. The moment you arrived, you went straight to look at the stone wall filled up by that diagram of secret engravings. The engravings on this stone wall were a legacy left by an ancient existence. They are profound beyond imagination. Even I am only able to understand a tiny bit of it. Sitting Mountain guest pointed to somewhere far off to one side and said, I think you should take a look at this side first. Luo Feng looked in the direction his teacher was pointing. There was a wall in the courtyard. On the wall were some words. The meaning was apparent with just one look. These were the last words left behind by the same great being from earlier, the same one who had left the crazy words carrying such strong emotions. I have finally achieved a breakthrough, but death shall befall me soon. How reluctant I am. How regretful I am. But it's too late. Everything is too late. One by one, they all died. I attained a higher level of achievement and comprehended my greatest technique, but still, I was too late. This diagram of secret engravings represented lost knowledge, during my highest peak. Brief as they might have been, these words seemed to convey thoughts that sounded more sad than angry. Looking at the message left behind on the stone wall, Luo Feng suddenly realized that the incredible diagram of secret engraving that seemed to be embedded onto the wall actually represented that great being's highest peak. This is not the first time I have made such a discovery, Sitting Mountain Guest said. In the 3 most dangerous lands, some core grounds have monuments that were left by super beings from countless reincarnation eras ago. The number of monuments that I have come across so far, including this time, is 9. Some of them are very useful, while the others are completely useless. Luo Feng nodded. He had also obtained the relic of Jiafanzi before, so he could understand what his teacher meant. Universe Supreme Masters, who could make it to the core ground of the 3 most dangerous lands, would be able to discover various relics. This was nothing strange at all. This being merely wanted to prove himself. Sitting Mountain Guest shook his head. He had no intentions of passing down any inheritance, because if he had wanted to pass down any, even if there wasn't detailed guidance, he would have left at least a dozen diagrams of secret engravings, from bottom to top, for the later generations to contemplate and study. Yet he only left behind an extremely powerful set of diagrams of secret engravings. Even I find it impossible to cultivate. Who else can achieve the cultivation of this? The Divine Eye clan got lucky before, to discover a set of complete inherited monuments left behind by an ancient existence. Sitting Mountain Guest sighed. Why can't I have such good luck? Luo Feng, I told you not to look at the stone wall. Why are you looking at it again? Sitting Mountain Guest could not help nagging Luo Feng. At this point in time, Luo Feng's gaze was fixated on the stone wall. What he was observing was only one of the corners of the wall. It was not like before, where he was looking at the entire diagram. In that corner, which was probably only 1/10,000th of the whole diagram of secret engravings, he could see countless miniature diagrams of secret engravings constructed around one another, to the extent that they pierced into the stone wall. There was a strange kind of feeling. It was as though the universe was the fundamental particle, and fundamental particles were reassembling to construct a soul. Those miniature diagrams of secret engravings were all very exquisite. Luo Feng was completely mesmerized by the way they were constructed. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, lightning, electricity, and light rays. Time and space. Fusion laws. What nonsense. None of these, this is something entirely different. It was more miraculous, more unpredictable. Luo Feng was completely taken aback. Suddenly. Luo Feng, wake up. Sitting Mountain Guest shouted. Luo Feng turned to look at his teacher. Teacher, this time, I am not influenced by the music. I am clear-minded and awake. You have been looking at it for more than 3 days. Sitting Mountain Guest shook his head out of helplessness. Would I have been standing here all this time? This diagram of secret engraving is mystical and unpredictable, but it does not conform to my path in life. 3 days. Luo Feng was shocked. His entire mind and body had been immersed within for so long. Time really flew by quickly. Teacher, this diagram of secret engravings is extremely profound. I think even if I had billions of years, I would still be unable to fathom it thoroughly. However, from its most fundamental structure, I realized, the flow of diagrams of these secret engravings was like a mirror of my life, showing me that my achievement in the studies of diagrams of secret engravings have been stagnant at the universe night limit for far too long. I feel that this is my chance for a breakthrough. Sitting Mountain Guest laughed. Ha ha. Yes, it may not be useful to me, but studying these diagrams has been a part of you for some time. The study of diagrams of secret engravings is required to continue observing more and more diagrams of secret engravings. The more you study, the higher the possibility of a breakthrough. You were here for 3 days, and so I have been looking at them for 3 days. I, too, have comprehended some of them. From within, I have comprehended 5 of these diagrams. You should come take a look. Sitting Mountain Guest pointed to the towering wall in the neighboring courtyard, and on the stone wall, countless fine secret engravings suddenly appeared. One after another, large diagrams of secret engravings appeared, all of which were much more profound than the diagram of secret engraving of a miniature universe. They were the 5 major diagrams of secret engravings, and they were etched onto 5 different parts of the wall. These 5 major diagrams of secret engravings, from what I comprehended, all have 1/1000th the power of that lost knowledge, Sitting Mountain Guest said. With this as a stepping stone, you will be able to gain an understanding of it faster. Luo Feng gazed at the 5 major diagrams of secret engravings, and could not help but feel shocked. This was, indeed, an entity capable of making supreme true treasures. His capability was intimidatingly strong. Stop looking, it is time to head out. Sitting Mountain Guest laughingly said, this island is very quiet, and there isn't much danger around. You only need to leave behind one body, with your godly power, to slowly build on your understanding. Do you know, in the outside world, there is a big commotion going on. I can already sense the great waves from outside. I think there might be a fight between Universe Supreme Masters. A fight between Universe Supreme Masters. Luo Feng was taken aback. Otherwise, I would not have woken you up. Sitting Mountain Guest laughed. Leave a body with your godly power here. It may be weaker, but there is no one to attack it, so it will be fine. You can leave it here to cultivate and gain comprehension at ease. Let's go. We shall go and take a look. If we make it in time, maybe we can still see the battle in action. TSK. Who knows? The ones involved may possibly be huge axe creator of your human race. This video will end here.